You know?
Hi, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the June 15th, 2026 meeting of the Library Commission. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating in person at the Araloga Family Recreation Center and the public participating remotely. Commissioners present include Laith Abdullah, Carol Horton, Sarah Sisbot, Brian Westcott, Chair, and Daniel Ewell. Staff present include LCS Supervisor Rose Waldman, and Library and Community Services Director Nick Shapka. Nick will be helping facilitate the meeting. Nick, will you please take a moment and provide instructions to the commission and members of the public in attendance on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair Westcott. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage that raised hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. Members of the public attending remotely who wish to speak, please take a moment to make sure your first and last name are updated on Zoom, or you may provide your name and the spelling as you are called to speak. Public comment will be heard in the order received and is limited to 3 minutes in length. For members of the public attending in person, there are speaker cards available on the table here to my left. Please complete one and turn it in to me before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. And with that, I turn the meeting back over to the chair.
The public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Do we have any public comment on items not appearing on the agenda?
Any public comment on items not on the agenda? 2 online participants, but no public comment there.
Okay,
None here in the room.
all right, thank you. Study sessions. Study sessions are a chance to introduce an item that will require direction in the near future. After a presentation on the topic, we will take public comment, and then the commission will discuss the matter interactively with staff. The commission will not take action tonight on items addressed in study sessions. The first of 2 study sessions is to prepare the report out to the City Council on Commissioners 2025 through 2026 work plan. The ad hoc subcommittee prepared a draft presentation for review and discussion. Before that, do we have any public comment on D1?
Any public comment on item D1?
Okay,
Seeing none.
it's open for commission discussion.
Would you like me to pull up the?
Yes, could we have the presentation?
Okay.
And this is a draft copy that we wanted to bring up for discussion tonight. And I think this is due, we'll present this August 11th.
August 11th is when the commission will report out to the city council. Oh, sorry. I'm fascinated by fauna.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
all right.
fauna. So here is the first slide.
Yes, and people can read, but what we wanted to do is introduce libraries and their importance as the foundation for a vibrant city and community spirit. So as you can see, the first bullet, these are, as you can read through, assumptions that libraries are civic institutions. They are indispensable community hubs that bring people together. We'll do a fact check, but I put in used by 82% of the citizens. I think,
Is that right?
I think we'd have to
Menlo
look.
Park?
We,
once, at least visit a library.
we'd have to check, because we have visitors.
That's how you measure.
Yeah, we could give you number of visits per capita. In other words, here's the total of number of library visits for the most recent year. And here's the number of residents of Menlo Park.
Right.
And so it would be some factor of that, like 8 visits per capita or something. Or we could give you number of library cards per capita, so Menlo Park
That's-
residents with library cards, and give
Okay.
you that as a percentage, because that will probably be
That's like 50% though.
fairly high, it might be higher than 50%.
Cause well, you have in your stats 15,674. Don't we have about?
Oh, goodness, no,
Oh,
no,
dear.
okay.
Yeah, we gotta close those doors.
Yeah.
Excuse me, just a moment.
We're gonna have an additional commissioner join. Well, I think where I remember that number is the survey that was taken.
We should. And. you recall. Please get that.
Anyway,
We need to define.
we'll define, I put next to it fact checked.
Yeah.
But the point of the first slide is the importance of the library, which I think we all agree on. And how to, convey that information, but. If the statistic is high, which I think it is, we'll add it. And, the commission, I think this commission does a very good job being faithful to the city council's direction to act as an advisory body. So that would be the first slide. And this is, again, any comments, please, we are drafting this. Okay, next slide. This is to emphasize, to give some flavor to the fact that I really do believe this commission is energized, committed, and very positive. People come to the meetings, they participate, they do work outside the meetings, and really believe in the importance of the library to the city. So, this is a chance to talk about the staff, the interaction between the staff and the commission, and how we're all working together for the betterment of Menlo Park. All right. So library work goal 1, we thought we should highlight the 5 goals that we have in the work plan. This is pretty much the foundation and pretty straightforward. It covers the routine but important ongoing operation of the commission. These are right off our work plan, and we'll go through it, but that's really, I think, something we take not for granted, but we know is always part of the commission. And then goal 2, programs and services. I think we get a lot of input. I know programs and services is important to the staff, and we looked at the needs to facilitate a library of the future at both locations of the library. The importance of programs, I'm reading this, at Bellhaven and the main library. And the commission members continue to work with the affinity groups of the Friends and the Foundation, which we want to highlight because they have a role. And in fact, I think they voiced their interest in becoming a little more involved. Carol, I know your group wants to get more involved. So, and those are all really great resources that I assume the city council knows about, but I think it would be good to bring it up. So programs and services are a big part of the library. Then goal 3. This is what we were working on, where we looked at the near or intermediate capital improvements to the library. And we've been we have that list, and we looked at, the importance, giving them some priority. Again, with the budget, we're still waiting on the final budget and what would fit within the, means of the budget. But these were some possible projects. And I think by August 11th, we'll know more.
Absolutely.
With the budget, so we can fill this slide out a little better. Once we get the budget's June, end of June,
End of June.
yes, so we should know next meeting.
Perfect.
And then goal 4. The Library of the Future Subcommittee. We had a report that went out in the fall and we looked to city council to schedule a study session to focus on various issues that were brought up in the report. I know it's been a busy year for the city council with all the redevelopment, but we continue to want to advocate for a study session and not let this just fade into the background. So we're gonna work with Jennifer Weiss, who's our liaison, to at least keep this topic in front of the council. And then goal 4 is the other subcommittee, which, I might add that we actually have kind of adopted this subcommittee approach, which allows us to do more work, because it's outside our monthly meetings. And I think this group has done a great job with looking specifically at the Bellhaven community and how that facility and library, are serving that facility. And I took just the bullet points, which we can, work on, but, progress to date, literature review, and there's been a lot of work. And when was this actually formed? It was not.
November, maybe?
Yeah, November, okay, so it was most of the year, but, a lot of work that's been done and that the subcommittee's active and ready to do more next year. And I would suspect we'll probably have something in the work plan for next year on the subcommittee. But the subcommittee's alive and done good work and will continue.
We can take out the meta bullet point.
Yes, okay. Yes,
Oops.
yeah, we don't need
Don't need that.
to remind them there'll be a slide or two.
And
This
then
is
that-
real.
That,
Wait, what did you say?
No, there was
oh,
just,
there was just it was a note
A
that
note.
made it in as a bullet point there.
Oh,
we like a slide or two with the following content. We don't need that.
We don't know.
oh, right.
It's a note to self, I think it's okay. And then there's just a couple of, there's a slide of photos, but we can. At your, if you're interested, we can put some more updated photos. Sort of interspersed in the report.
Yes, if you have some, for the next meeting, if we can do that, get any comments on this.
There's another slide with content.
Yeah,
This is the last one, which is still could probably be developed, but. We're looking at the 2026 work plan, which we'll talk later in the meeting, and vision for the Library of the Future. We probably should add, and also for the Bellhaven
Mhm.
Library group to
Yeah.
that first.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 subcommittees.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue for the work plan and the 2 subcommittees. We'll keep
And I
going.
would put the feedback guidance one as another bullet point with bigger
Right,
font.
yeah, make that an equal.
Make that equal,
And
and yeah, I agree with you to add the Bellhaven.
in fact,
First bullet point.
on the first bullet point, we could do 2 subcommittees and sub bullets.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yes. And, we want, of course, feedback, and so I know at this meeting, it's a pretty quick meeting, so we might get a few comments, from
Yeah,
the commission.
Thank
Yeah, you never know,
You never know.
a question,
I should
so,
ask a few questions.
Mhm.
yeah, so we'll give them that chance, any feedback or guidance is welcome. And we look forward to continuing support for the community. So that's with pictures, nice pictures,
Aw.
and
That's it.
that's basically, we have what, about 10 minutes? Or 8 minutes? When we give this?
Yes, you got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so we should be able to get through this pretty quickly.
Sounds good.
There was probably 7 or 8 minutes. We're being a little more discursive probably than you would be if you were actually giving a presentation.
Yeah, I'll talk more about how great the staff is, so give a 2-minute pitch on that,
Appreciate
and
it.
that we're fortunate.
Do you
So,
want to see any more of the slides or do you want to just? discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody on the council. Let's talk, do you want to talk about the Bellhaven slide or?
I actually have a question about goal number 2, I
Okay.
think. It's a very minor one versus goal number 1, maybe. And it's that the formatting was a little bit different. I think
Oh,
maybe it's just
okay.
like smaller bullet points or something like that. Jumped out at me. Oh, maybe it's just because this one has the subpoints and that's what it was. This one has like a big square. This is such a small thing.
What I would say
Okay.
is, if my comment is, if somebody, it can be Nick or me or whatever, but
Somebody go back through.
Brian did the first draft and then I edited it some and then plopped it into a template that was from 2 years ago, and so. That's why there's all this different formatting. This was not intended to be like this is just the
This is
words
the
for
draft.
what you wanted to have you discuss, but somebody definitely should. Do what you're talking.
Why don't we
about.
do this? We'll put a note, because next meeting we'll finalize and then we'll have time to just do a format check.
Or we could do a format check in
Okay.
between so that the next meeting, Nick's good at that. I'm also happy to take a shot, but you have more. Cause I took out a lot of the pictures that were in there, so, and I just left a couple in at the end. And somebody, I know a few who, I don't remember where the first,
But Daniel's point is well taken. We'll do a format check.
Absolutely.
To clean up the fonts and
yeah,
pictures and placement of the pictures, all that. Okay. And take out notes. We're gonna need Rose, should I work with you or something on that fact check on,
Yeah,
Because
we'll
it's-
come up with a couple, we'll come up with a couple of different ones, I think, that you can then choose from.
I can just make one up,
Well,
you know?
that's
And
no the way
no,
of politics today.
yeah, just, I thought 82 sounded very
It
convincing,
is.
you know? Cause if I said 80, they would question, but 82.
It was plausible.
I personally went around all the neighborhoods and asked if they used the library,
It was plausible.
so there you go. Okay. So I mean, the theme though is that the library commission is active, responsive, doing good work, you know, specific subcommittee work, and you know, we're here to support the city council and the staff, I would say. So that's the main message we're trying to get across.
I'm not sure if it's the right forum, this presentation, it is to like mention some of the stuff, like you mentioned a few of the asks from the report that you guys filed last year. Is it a good opportunity to say, hey, by the way, we think this would be helpful, this would be helpful, and this would be helpful, in the next year when you're thinking about the libraries, even if they're not gonna do anything about it, even if it's far too late for them to have put it in the budget. Just to specifically say, hey, we were thinking about maybe hiring a volunteer coordinator. We were thinking about maybe upgrading the HVAC. We were thinking about, you know, some of those things specifically.
Should we do that in the work plan? Cause this is a report on what we did,
Right, rather than saying what we want.
but we might be able to, when we make the work plan is presented, also. Somehow put that in the work plan in a way we could ask.
So there's like a second presentation, which is like.
Yeah, the work plan is, and they have to approve it.
Yeah.
So this is here's what we did, and there'll be another one, which is here's what we're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Right.
in
Got it.
December.
Okay.
Okay.
I got them merged, I
Yeah.
had them mixed.
Yeah. We do mention on goal number 3, the things that we identified and are waiting on. And so we'll have a chance to like come back again, although usually for the future one, at least Sean had told us last year we didn't need to go, but that it did end up getting revised when we weren't there, so
Right,
probably we should go.
yeah, I
This
think we
next
should
time.
go.
It never hurts to
Yep.
attend. Yeah, and you just don't know what will strike a council member's interest. Like
Yeah.
it does,
Yeah.
usually all of the work plans are on consent.
Yeah.
So that's the part of the calendar where the council, if they have questions, would probably ask before the meeting about an item. But if they want to discuss it, they can pull it from consent and bring it to regular business.
Yeah.
And talk about it and change it.
Yeah.
But usually consent is up or down.
Right,
They're usually pretty simple.
it's
Yeah.
just blanket.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, I
we
mean-
had thought it was consent, but either it got pulled or it was whatever, anyway.
But we might
undermine.
think of structuring the work plan so that if not this year, next year, we can report on. Cause we're talking about capital improvements, but you're also talking more about programs and other,
Yeah, sort of as a result of our investigation, one of the biggest things is like, hey, would it be great if we had more staff? We realize that's unlikely in the current climate and so on and so forth, but
and that came out in our.
That was in our-
library.
you guys had it as well, so it seems like that
It's
would
a
be a
recurring
thing,
theme.
that would be good to have.
So if they do have we do talk about a study session, and I would hope in the study session that we can say both subcommittees came to that same conclusion.
Mhm.
So, okay,
I mean, if you want to. If you wanna be sneaky about it, you could say, you could say that you identified, several, how can I be vague, but then leave room for you to put specifics in later? The commission and subcommittees through their work have identified several areas where the library could be improved or where library operations could be improved, either through the addition of staff or something like that, and leave it kind of more blankety, and then when you make that way, you're not inviting them to pick it apart there when you're presenting it, and then can like fill in details either during a presentation or during the study session later.
how about this, the last slide? Where we're talking about the future, we could put a bullet point like that in. About how these things are needs.
Sort of looking ahead.
Right, because we do call it looking ahead kind of, or the future, and we could put something in there.
Hmm.
Which might get their attention, but it also leaves the door open for why we're putting it in the work plan.
I think that'd be great to include.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that.
I hope I remember what this note means when I look at it later. Add vague, looking ahead. Gonna probably look
For library needs, looking ahead for future library needs,
here. That makes more sense.
and we'll hold you accountable because we have all these people that will remember
That's
this
right.
meeting. All right. So this, again, we no decisions tonight, but this was first draft, and I think we have a good start. And so next meeting, we'll discuss the next draft. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So we don't need public comment, right?
We already took public comment.
Yes, so we're fine. Okay. Our second study session is to prepare the library commission work plan for the coming year. Staff will make a brief presentation and then we will take public comment. Do we have any public comment on item D2?
Well, let me make a brief presentation first, but
No, I'm sorry.
it's okay. So basically, this is the sort of the first bite at looking to next year's work plan. So this year's work plan has those 5 goals. And then using those either as a basis, maybe a good way to start for looking at next year's, or you can tear it all up and just start fresh. It's up to you. I think there's some use in sort of building on the work that you've done from the past
Mhm.
year, if you look to the next year. So I can pull up, the work plan sort of in a more simplified version from last year. There it is on the screen. And there's the 5.
Right,
So. The history of this is there was a 6th goal that had, I have to think about the exact wording, but it had to do with the budget. It had to do with reviewing the library division's budget. And that was pulled by the city council.
okay. Well, we can go one at a time. And then we can talk about, I mean, at this meeting, I think we should add rather than try to subtract. Let's add. Whatever people are thinking about, and then we can,
Well, do we need to keep number 4? Didn't we already do that?
right, no, yes, so. If we go in order, but yeah, 4, we should revise. The subcommittee library of the future wants to continue, but it has different goal. I'm sure. But so to make this easy, I think one is, as we've talked about, is kind of foundation. I don't think we're gonna change
Yeah, I
one.
think that should stay the same.
Any wording there that you wanna change on any of those though? I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but
Right.
just checking. So that's,
We do a good job. I think we do all that.
Actually, the word that I think we should change is, the bullet point about commissioner liaison reports about affiliates. I think that should say
Okay.
affinity groups. Cause the Friends of the Library and the Menlo Park Foundation are affinity groups. They're not official affiliates, because they're each their own nonprofit.
Okay.
I think that was, the wording was not quite the right word.
okay,
And someone on the foundation brought that up to me and said, we're not affiliates.
okay.
Good. Any
But
other?
other than that, I think it sounds pretty.
Yeah, we mentioned, we name check affinity groups in the second goal, so, yeah.
So two is about programs and services, and it talks about gaps, so I don't know, Daniel, you think, let's see,
Do we need to, what are we referring to there when we say affinity groups?
I think we're talking about, oh, I see, those, that
Two.
affinity groups are, in two is more about. Groups of users, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to change that,
We need to change
Right.
it so it's clear who we're referring to.
yeah,
I think when we drafted it, the idea is we wanted to make sure there were age groups. And also like, Spanish language speakers, or if those are the, like, we're trying to think of groups of people who needed assistance.
Mhm.
Or had needs, to be met by the library.
so are those demographic groups or? Cause,
Interest groups,
yeah, it could be interest
demographic
groups.
groups.
It seems to me like, you know, one is just the standing operations, and then 2, 3, 4 are all the Library of the Future subcommittee, and then 5 is sort of leaning a lot on the new subcommittee formed in November, the District One outreach. I don't know if you guys see it that way. Maybe I'm oversimplifying things.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we need two to be connected to the Library of the Future, that's,
Okay, just because it has it in there, so that's
yeah,
why.
well, that's from last year.
I
but,
see.
I mean, really, to me, 2, 3, and 4 really are all kind of together, but 4 talks about something that we've already completed.
Yeah,
And I
4
don't know
is-
that we're gonna update it, or I think we're gonna move on and work on it in a different way, so I think.
So to me, it sounds like the two things are, number 2 is basically programs and services, number 3 is capital investments. And those don't have to be specifically granted to, as you say, the Library of the Future or anything like that, those are just general things that we need to talk about. And our subcommittee kind of fits into that as well, right? Like that's one of the things that we're looking at, because when you're talking about Bellhaven, those are the things that you want to address are, you know, infrastructure or programs. So if we get rid of 4, I think we still do need to keep 5 to, just as a reminder
Yeah.
that it's, you know, something important to consider. But I think both subcommittees fit into 2 and 3 if we drop the Library of the Future.
Mhm.
Oh,
Well, I
I mean,
didn't
3
read-
has the address 800 almost, so then we should make
Oh,
it.
yes, if we made that more general, maybe.
Yeah.
Although, that's the one that needs the capital.
That's true.
Short and medium, so it really, we purposely made it just the main library, because there's a brand new building over at Bellhaven, so that one doesn't really need shorter, I don't think.
Ideally.
Yeah, yeah.
How's the Wi-Fi?
So,
So maybe we move number 5 up to be number 3. Get rid of 4,
well, are we gonna,
so that the 2 things that programming,
well, I'm not sure I mean, 1 is general work. To
Yeah.
me, 2 is programs and services, and that, it's assumed for everything.
yeah,
I mean, this is one way I'm looking at it. And 3 is capital improvements.
specific to.
Yeah, and
Specific.
4 would be basically the continuation of the Library of the Future subcommittee, what whatever that's gonna do next year, and 5 is, to me, Bellhaven subcommittee. And what,
Okay.
that's a different way to
Okay, so
look
if
at it.
you, all right, fair enough. So we would just kind of rewrite number 4 to say the subcommittee for library of the future would continue its work.
Yeah.
Coordinating with staff and, or whatever.
Right, and look at, I still think we should look at options of how a library would fit in the future plans.
Yeah,
You put it in your statement, I put it on my statement when I ran or I asked to
Yeah.
continue, and so I kind of look at it as, well, people read that and said, okay, we're gonna extend his commission, so I think we have a duty to at least look into how a library fits in future plans of Menlo Park.
okay. We just need to rewrite number 4 to reflect that.
Sounds like 4 needs the most wordsmithing. It
Yeah,
looks like 2 will change a little bit, maybe just dropping
Yeah,
to create the library of the future from that. So it would be review library programs and services, identify potential service gaps for specific age groups or user groups,
perfect.
and advise to fill needs,
Yeah,
period.
period.
right. And,
Okay, and 3 I think looks good.
now, how do people feel about, I still think it would be good to look at budget and bring up, Daniel, what you said is, is the budget serving with the gaps in maybe both, the results of capital service and programs and staffing, and how is the budget meeting those goals? And that's where we could even do a little benchmarking.
I think maybe we'll try to add a sentence to number 2. Programs and services. Identify potential service gaps. And possible. My bureaucratic speech is leaving me at this moment, but maybe working something in there about resource needs or something,
Ways to,
rather than saying flat out the word budget,
ways to fill the gaps.
yeah.
I think that was a trigger that was a misunderstanding last
Right.
year.
Yes.
Where they thought we were trying to insert ourselves into the budget
Budget.
process, which was not what we meant. But we, so if we could word it in a way where we can do the benchmarking we're talking about and provide input. But without making it look like we're trying to,
Tell them.
at ourselves or
Yeah.
tell them what to do.
Yeah, and just give them a reference to say, is the library getting its fair share of the
Yeah.
resource might be the key word versus budget.
Resource, yeah.
Yeah, budget might, as you said, get
Yeah,
a red
it's
flag.
it's a trigger, yeah, we wanna make sure we're all
And
understanding,
it really,
have the same understanding.
yeah, and it is about resources,
Yeah.
it's how these gaps are filled.
Are we, when we talk about this sort of resource thing, are we talking about that we are going to like advise the city council on how they should be like advocating for more funding in different areas, or is this more like we're saying, we're gonna advise, say, like Nick, and say, hey, maybe you should allocate some funds to this thing or something like that? Like what is what are we trying to do with this one?
I personally would think we identify the resources that could be used and maybe put a priority on them and let Nick and staff and the city council come up with the budget and see how many of these priority, how far down the list can they go to fill?
Or with your benchmarking, say, libraries of this size serving this sort of demographic have this, and this. Here are the gaps with what.
Yeah,
Menlo
and
Park
that's all.
have. And
Yeah.
just-
Which is what we tried to do in that initial report that we did is, Brian, and that, a lot of comparison of libraries of similar communities, similar demographics, and is the staffing, is the amount of resource that's allocated for staff are appropriate for the kind of community that we have and what their expectations are and their needs are. So it was not to be telling specific numbers of service, say, hey, look at this. This is what you see.
Mhm.
Or
And
equal,
maybe
yeah.
this needs to be looked at,
Yeah, it's
we don't have the
information.
power, it's
Affiliates we
information.
don't.
It's information, not making the decision. It's information to help them
Yeah.
make informed decisions.
Yeah,
Cause if Nick's asking for, $20 million for the library, he's gonna,
Need some ammunition.
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also you could work that in, the gap could be between what. The population of Menlo Park now and the population of Menlo Park in 5 years.
that's a good,
And that's a gap, right, because of planned future developments. At Park Line and then possibly downtown. You probably don't wanna call them out necessarily by name, but planned or
but yeah,
pipeline
because everyone
developments
knows, yeah.
is going to change the demographics and the population of Menlo Park. And that might be a gap, a service gap for the library.
Yeah,
And that-
especially since so much of the new housing, when it comes, it's coming,
Mm.
is very close in proximity to this library.
It's happening in the Bayfront neighborhood as well. I mean, there are more developments that have come online in the past couple of years. And they're sort of on the other side of the Southern Pacific Railroad line, so it's not as easy for those folks to get to the branch, but it's certainly within the service area of the branch, so there's that gap as well.
that's a good point. Maybe that could be a line item on the library of the future, is looking at how the population's gonna change. And what pressures and resources might be needed to accommodate,
Mhm.
cause that's
Yeah.
definitely coming.
So that, yeah, so that number 4 being about the library of the future, number 5 could be what the bullet point, can make those kind of parallel paragraphs.
Right.
For each subcommittee, I like that.
Yeah.
idea.
And then 6 is just. I don't know if there needs to be a 6, but somehow in this, the resources and the benchmarking. To
If
provide,
that belongs, when we rewrite number 4.
okay, we can do
Be
that.
one of the bullet points.
Yeah, we'll do benchmarking, cause then we'll have to look at how a bigger. Area or
Yeah,
we look at the benchmark comparables. Okay. We'll keep it at 5,
sounds good to me.
and we won't use the word budget.
It's triggering,
It's triggering, we've learned
certainly
that.
to me right now.
So, yeah. And so in terms of homework assignment, like, are you gonna try to massage the words in accordance with this discussion? Would you want us to do it and give?
Either or, I can do it if you'd like, but my wordsmithing is maybe not how you would smith, so.
Well, if he takes a shot, and then we'll have it before our next meeting, then we'll have it in the packet. So then the next meeting, we should finalize.
Yeah. We're still probably a month ahead of where we're so far ahead. So as long as we don't really need to finalize it till the August meetings, we still have the July meeting to discuss it further.
Right,
So great,
Because every commission has a work plan,
yeah,
Yes,
or some work plans more
I think they're-
mature or awesome than others.
it
Whatever.
varies. You can watch them or read them when they're presented, or go look at last year's work plan presentations and see what they're like. Some people are super, super detailed, they're gonna do this, that, the other. Some people are more broad, sort of wanna look at this sort of area. It really just depends on the composition of the commissions, the individual commission members.
I think it's good to think about spectrums, because with that one spectrum, at least, we are kind of the broad. Right, there might be some specific, but I think overall is pretty broad. Are there other spectrums that you would point out in terms of describing those, or is that the main one?
That's what comes to mind right now. I think some commissions get too detailed and kind of box themselves in. Or maybe bite off more than they can chew, like they get too ambitious. I think it's good to give yourselves a little bit of wiggle room. So that if something comes up during the year that's like a pivot, you have a little bit of room to take on that thing as well. I can't think of such a thing, hopefully, that would cause such a pivot in the coming year, but. You know, the budget's emerged as an issue, which I didn't think it was going to be, last year, so. It's, stuff does come up.
Right, that's helpful.
I mean, what's helpful is. To me, the takeaway that might be worth looking at.
Take a look at the other
plans,
ones.
Just be like,
Yeah.
where does ours sit, right?
Yeah,
In some sense, our plan gives us a lot of purview to be reactive and also have a vision. But there is something to be said about specifics too, right?
Yeah. you can check them off.
Yes,
Well, but you guys have a long list of things in that goal one, which you do
Yes.
every year. So those are kind of yours, this is our like core functions. We are meeting all of these every year. And then the other ones are more sort of discretionary, if you characterize it that way, but choice. So. I can bring back links to the other work plans, or I can even send it out in an email, in a BCC email to you guys if you wanna look at it. It's not hard to find.
Yeah, before the next meeting to have
Mhm.
just an idea, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you have
Let's
to,
skim
have
through. Maybe we'll find something of interest.
right,
What we do is so specific to. Our, you know,
yeah, you need a balance, like we said, like this goal for the. Library of the Future, looking at the impact of the development on resources and needs of the library. I don't know if we could be any more specific at this point, but it's a direction. So things like that, we'll see.
I think it's nice to compare. One other thing, the other comparator are the other library commissions in neighboring towns, so like. I've looked at Redwood Cities, I could send that,
yeah.
or I could send that to you.
Send it to me and send it out, yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay,
Alright, so I'm gonna come back with a draft
your work is,
or. Look to draft. Unless I just start tearing out my hair and then I'll let you know.
listen,
Can't do it.
and then, yeah, well,
we're happy to help.
and then we'll get it in the packet so people have the weekend at least to review for the next meeting. Okay, let's see. So at this point, though, we can take public comment?
Sure.
No.
No,
Okay.
Do
Do we have any public comment?
It's like, no, not yet, and then we just jumped right.
All right.
And I forgot.
Well, we're gonna open it up now. Do we have any public comment on item D2?
Any public comment? Seeing none online.
Are
Okay,
there people online watching?
there are, yes,
Okay, how many?
3.
Yes, great,
The bumper crop.
okay. Item E then, regular business. Under regular business, the Library Commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require Library Commission approval. First, next is item E1, approving the minutes from the May 18th, 2026 meeting. Nick, do we have any public comment on this item?
Any public comment on E1? No public comment.
All right, it's open for any commission discussion.
I move to approve the minutes from the May 18th, 2026 Library Commission meeting.
All right, do I have a second for the motion? Daniel?
All right, then by roll call vote. Commissioner Abdullah, how do you vote? Yay. Commissioner Orton, how do you vote?
Yay.
Commissioner Sisbot, how do you vote?
Yay.
Commissioner Yule, how do you vote? Yay. And Chair Westcott, how do you vote?
Yes,
Motion passes.
okay. Now we'll check item E2. We'll now check in with the ad hoc subcommittee and their work focusing on District 1. They'll provide a brief introduction, we'll take public comment and then begin our discussion.
And to be fair, this is kind of a placeholder item, so don't feel compelled to make things up if you don't have anything new. It's just a place to sort of
Yeah,
like.
you asked me and I forgot to email you back, if I had anything to say or not. We met recently, talked about our, recommendations. I think we're pretty close on, being able to bring them. I think we wanted to chat about a few things. I don't know. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is the possibility of, working together with perhaps the foundation to coordinate volunteers, basically finding places where we can bring volunteers in to help with library operations in any way, shape, or form that we can. And such as maybe tabling at events or helping put on programs or things. Obviously, the library itself would need to consent to all these things, but we heard that the foundation was looking for ways to get involved in things. I'm looking at you because you're the liaison.
Yeah.
And we're wondering if there's some opportunities there. That would be a worthwhile thing for us to get together and talk about.
Will I respond? So,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
done. I'm done now. Yes, that was my presentation.
what, I mean, I can, present that to the foundation board. I will say that it's a small board
Mhm.
and the mission is to raise money to give to the library to hire coordinators if they wish, or they go, you know, so. It's not like it's unlike the Friends of the Library, who's a ton of volunteers and they're down there doing work or whatever. This is a board of like 8 people, although they are trying to increase and they have gotten some interest, some listings that they put out to get more board members. So it would be a little different than approach, but I'm just one board member of them, so I could bring it up to them. And I'd also want to make sure that that was something that the library staff wanted, because that's a big job to coordinate volunteers. And when we've talked about that being a paid position by somebody who's not part-time or not temporary or whatever.
Yeah, I think it would take some more discussion just to see.
Yeah,
Yes, this is the kicking off the discussion because we can't talk about it except here.
exactly. Fair enough. So, I'm not sure that the foundation is the right organization to do that sort of thing. I think they would probably think that their role is to raise money so that somebody could be hired and supervised by library staff to do that, or, and then there's the whole thing about, well, how does our money get used? It can't really be used for salaries and it's complicated.
Yes, we were discussing some of those things as well. I think we have a plan to have a list of recommendations in our next meeting, maybe. Like our next commission meeting, I think is on the agenda, if I remember correctly. So we could get into some of our other stuff. Then I have a few other ideas, but that's helpful. And I realized I never said done for public comment also, so in case there's any public comment on my rambly little discussion there.
I'm a fan of the rambly discussion. Any public comment on item E2? Seeing no public comment.
Okay, and there's no motion for any issues, so we can move to item F.
Yeah, other than maybe adding something,
Yeah,
where we
let's-
talk about the tentative agenda calendar.
Yeah, let's say for next
Yeah.
week, we'll add that to the agenda. Okay. Item F, informational items are transmitted to the Library Commission and staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the commission. Information items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. See, update on the city of Menlo Park fiscal year. Nick, would you?
Yes, so since our last meeting, the city team presented proposed budget revisions to the city council on June 9th. I encourage the commission and members of the public to watch that presentation and the discussion that happened. The city council asked staff to, in the absence of any kind of certainty about VLF funding at the time, which was June 9th, asked staff to go and prepare more revisions. So further revisions to bring back a balanced, to bring the budget into balance. So that's what staff are working on right now. Since that time, the state has released initial reports that say that Menlo Park could receive up to 65% of their VLF pass-through, which is more than I thought, but it is still, there's still some uncertainty because even with that extra VLF money, there's no decision been made yet by the council on whether to accept the revisions that were originally presented by staff, or whether to accept some or all or none of the newer proposed revisions. And so we're going to find out that at the city council meeting a week from Tuesday. So that meeting on the 23rd is almost the last chance for the city to pass a budget. They need to pass one before the 1st of July. So it would either be on the 23rd, or they would have to have a special session on the 30th. My guess is that they will get something done on the 23rd. That staff report that's going to come out this Thursday in advance of the Tuesday meeting, I will be looking at that staff report to see what's coming in from the other departments and sort of how my colleagues across the city are thinking about this and addressing it. But again, the things in that staff report will be proposed, not adopted by the council. We won't find out what the council's thinking or how they're going to decide until the meeting on the 23rd.
So any public comment?
Is there any public comment on item F1? One, don't see any hands raised. No public comment.
Okay, thank you. Item F2 is Library and Community Service Department updates and statistics, and there's a staff report.
There was,
Yes.
which is pretty self-explanatory.
Great.
If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Can just give you a sort of general highlights. Summer reading has kicked off and it has kicked off well. I think we're probably approaching 1,000 signups already, which is well ahead of where we were last year at this time. I think last year total we had like 1,500 is what I'm remembering, and that was at the end of August. So we are well ahead of the pace where we were last year. Rose was showing before the meeting pictures from the puppetry festival, first instance of the puppetry festival, and it was crowding over in the library annex, so people are coming for those programs and looking forward to a busy library summer.
Very good. And how's the reading being promoted? Is it?
Yeah, I'll let Supervisor Baldwin speak to that. Well, I mean, I can speak to it too.
No, I mean, I will say that we haven't had to work very hard for promotion anymore. There is something to be said for year-over-year building of a program. We do the standard half sheets in library, social media posts, posting on the website. Word of mouth at desks.
They do outreach visits, the librarians do outreach visits before school is out.
We promote at our events. about. This is the third year in a row that we've had what we call Summer Fun Week. Well, no, it's the second year of Summer Fun Week, but it's, I believe, the third year of tabling. But we weren't able to table as much this year. We were able to have, the Summer Fun Week is, the idea is to have a kickoff week. And to drum up signups in that way by raising awareness within the library. We've got our banners that we put up, sort of banners, and table banners. We were not able to do the tabling this year, for staffing reasons, but we were able to have crafts out to sort of raise awareness. So yeah, it's honestly, of the promotions that we do, this is not one that requires a whole lot of promotion.
It's in the local papers too.
Yeah.
In the
It
local,
was in Menlo.
in Menlo.
The LCS newsletter carries it as well, and that has a really good reach and a really good open rate. So that's been really successful for promoting things.
It seems like the number of people who receive the newsletter has also increased like dramatically year on year, and even just in the last month, it's gone up a lot. So maybe a lot of the people who are new recipients just, opened it and joined from that.
Yeah.
In any case, it's successful and growing,
So
so very nice,
Good
they're
job.
great work staff.
yes. All right, next I have 3 tentative agenda calendar.
And pulling it up
We're gonna have
even now.
Nickel. Highlight Ben,
Here we go. Okay. I'm in November, I don't want to be in November yet. Christmas already. So, there's our June meeting, July. We have the 2 work plan items, so recommending the report out and then working through another iteration of the work plan for next year. I think I heard that the subcommittee, District 1 subcommittee, we need a snappier name for you guys.
We talked about that and we have been unsuccessful so far.
Okay.
Snap years. We need to have a subcommittee, I think, to.
Subcommittee for
With a good
snappy
name.
names,
Yeah.
yeah, subcommittee for snappy names. So I will add that, the District 1 subcommittee to the July meeting. Just a general kind of check, for you guys, cause, July and August, we're down a couple commissioners tonight because of travel.
Mhm.
So just, I'll make sure to check in, maybe I'll check in a little early for this one, just to make sure that we're gonna have a quorum, cause I really need to drag you all in it. I feel like I'm dragging you in, but I would hate for everybody to show up if we didn't have a. Good, just to mention that, something to mention here that's tucked in on the,
Oh, yeah,
this meeting, the city clerk would like me to remind all of you about the June 29th commission training and appreciation event. So there's a training component at the city council chambers, and then there's an appreciation event afterwards out on the patio. It's nice. You get to meet some of your fellow commissioners from other governing bodies. Affinity groups, other groups, advisory bodies, there we go, that's the word I was looking for. Which is nice you can ask them, you can ask the EQC about their work plan and their work plan development and things like that.
We're all allowed to be in the same place at the same time.
It is noticed, yes, it is publicly noticed, so you're all allowed to be there.
They had some excellent swag last year.
Yes.
It was really good.
Oh.
One of the best I've ever got.
Sometimes there is swag for the commissioners, so that's.
Yeah, I didn't go last year, but I went the year before that, and I still use that mug I got.
Yeah,
so there's
there you go. Last year they had.
incentives.
They have these small Trader Joe's, small style Menlo Park branded shopping bags.
Oh, they gotta go.
That's that.
That's right, yeah.
And I think they suggest, every 2 years?
They suggest every 2 years that standing commissioners go back for a refresher. It's basically Brown Act training
Right.
for the most part. I think that the city clerk's office has reached out to all of you by email.
Yeah.
But if you can't find it, let me know and I can get them to send
They
you,
want us to RSVP.
so they can know how much shark you to read.
Okay. Very good, so then,
Anything else for July, I guess?
yes, so how about, those two? I don't know offhand. If we could get both of those done, that'd be nice.
Yeah, we don't have to make more work, I'm just checking.
Sounds good.
And then, so September, they'll approve,
Right, we take a look down here at the things that are collection development and then operations and strategic planning, which definitely will bring here. I just have to start it first.
could I suggest maybe, I don't know if it would be September, maybe September, is both subcommittees kind of make presentations on their thinking of what they want to accomplish in the next year,
So a little bit of mapping.
right? A little more detail. And maybe tying it to the goals of what they want to achieve. Cause if we could get that going in September, we have a good start for the whole year.
Okay. Anything else? Stop shit.
We could fill October next month,
Absolutely,
when we know what the budget is.
that's true, that will.
So
Things
I'll
will
raise money for the budget.
will be explained.
Okay. All right. But we don't have any other items for agenda. Commissioner reports. Do we have, any commissioner would like to make a short report on items of interest? The entire commission.
The only thing I'd repeat is something I mentioned earlier, is that the Library Foundation is looking to invite new members to the board. So if any of you know of anybody you think would be interested in supporting the library by doing some fundraising work, to let us know.
Saw their ad on next door.
And I might ask, since you were worried about quorum, does anybody know right now that they won't be here for July's meeting? So we should be fine. Okay. All right, I think with that, we can adjourn the meeting.
7:36.
Thank you very much.
You everyone.
It's so minor, I didn't wanna bring it up during the meeting, but there's an error in, this percentage here. The Sequoia Grove utilization percentage,
Oh, really?
yeah. There's no way it's 26,000 or 2,600%.
Oh, no, it's really. I'll let Ashley know. It seems like a fat finger thing.
Yeah.
Sequoia room utilization percentage.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And I had a question I didn't want to bring up during the meeting, but is there statistic, something, the library card holders has seemed to take a drastic.
Because then, remember we talked about this at a prior meeting that they did a clean out.
Yeah.
Okay.
People who had